In this lesson video, we will first introduce roots on algebraic expression and feasibility of roots on negative sign. Then we will analyze the similarity of roots and fraction power. Then we will define the fraction power in general form, that is where the power will have both numerator and denominator, and we will analyze the feasibility of general form fraction power on negative base or negative base number or any negative expression. In this lesson, we will learn how to simplify algebraic expression that involves roots and fraction power. So let us first understand what does roots means in algebra. First, the square root. If a number a equals x times x, that means x is square, then we can write square root of a is x. That means square root of x times x, a is x times x, is x. So if we have same value or same variable multiplied twice within a square root, we can bring one out of them. So for example, if we have square root of 16, that means 4 times 4, 16 is 4 times 4, then we can get 1 4. Or say square root of 25, that means root over 5 times 5, that means 5. Similarly, cubic root. If a number is multiple of same number 3 times, that means x to the power 3, then that number's cubic root, we write cubic root sign and then a 3 here, this is cubic root, will be x. That means cubic root of x times x times x is x. That means cubic root of x's cube. Cubic root of x's cube is x. So that means cubic root of 8. We can write cubic root of 8 is 2 times 2 times 2. That means it's 2. Similarly, cubic root of say 125. We can write cubic root of 5 times 5 times 5, because 125 is 5 times 5 times 5, so we can root cubic root of 125 is 5. Similarly, if we go higher order, that means nth root. In generally we call it nth root. That means if a number is multiple of same number n times, that is x to the power n, then the nth root, in generally nth root of that number is this x. So for example here, square root means actually 2th root, second root. So 2 times multiplication we can take 1 out. Cubic root is actually third root, n value is third root. That means when within the root same value is multiplied thrice, we can take 1 out. Nth root is when within the root we will have x to the power n, we can take 1 out. So for example, fourth root of 16. Fourth root of 16 means 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8, 8 times 2 is 16. So 4 times multiplied 2 is multiplied 4 times. So fourth root of 16 will give us 2. Similarly, if we write fifth root of 81 times 3 will be 243. So if we take fifth root of 243, it will be fifth root of 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. 20 times 3 is 81. And 81 times 3 is 243. So, fifth root of 243. 243 means 3 5 times multiplied. So, we will get 3. So, in this way, we can write any higher order root. So, in general, square root, cubic root, nth root. Square root means just root sign. Cubic root means root sign and 3 there. Nth root is root sign and n. So, for example, fourth root, root sign and 4. Fifth root, root sign and 5. This is how we can write any order of root. Okay, now let us see how different orders of root behaves with negative sign. Say, for example, we know that root 16, that means square root 16, we can write it like 4 times 4. That's why we got only 4. But what happens if we got minus 16? Minus 16 we can write as minus 4 times 4. So here this is not same, because one is minus 4 and another is 4. So we can't take out anything. So no real root. For this case, no real root is possible. So for square root, only positive value got root, negative is not possible. So that means if we have a root a, this root a is possible if a is greater than or equal to 0. That is only positive. If a is negative, then it's not possible for square root. Let us see cubic root. Cubic root of 64 is cubic root of 4 times 4 times 4, that is 4, because here all 3 4s are multiplied together, so cubic root will bring out 1 4. What happens if there is minus 64? Unlike square, there are only 2 multiplication. In cubic root, we can write minus 64, we can write as minus 4 times minus 4 times minus 4, because 3 times multiplication of minus will give minus, because minus times minus is plus and this plus times minus is minus. So minus 64 we can write as minus 4 times minus 4 times minus 4. So the same thing is multiplied thrice, so we can take minus 4 out from cubic root. So therefore cubic root of a, that means any variable, any number, its cubic root is possible for both positive value and negative value. That means if a is greater than or equal to 0, that is positive, then also possible, and if a is less than 0, that is negative, then also possible. So cubic root is defined, cubic root is possible for both positive and negative numbers. Let us see fourth root. Fourth root of say plus 16, we can write it like fourth root of 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, because 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8, 8 times 2 is 16. So we can write 2. But if we write fourth root of minus 16, then fourth root of this minus 16 we can write minus 2 times minus 2 times minus 2, but another 2 will not have minus, because minus times minus is plus, plus times minus is minus. But if we put another minus here, it will become plus. So for minus 16 we can't write 4 minus multiplied, so we don't have same thing multiplied 4 times, so that we can take out. So here no real root is possible. So for fourth root, root is possible, real value root is possible if only this value is positive. If this value is negative, we can't write it in terms of negative numbers 4 times, because that negative number 4 times multiplication makes it positive, not negative. So for fourth root, it is also only for like square root. Like square root, fourth root is only possible if number is positive. If the number is negative, it is not possible. Let us see another example, fifth root. Fifth root of 32, will be actually fifth root of 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. 5 times 2 multiplication is 32. So we will get 2. But if it is negative 32, same thing we can write as minus 2 times minus 2 times minus 2 times minus 2 times minus 2. Why? This minus and minus multiplication will give plus. Plus and minus will be minus. Minus and minus will be again plus. Plus and minus will be minus. So odd number of time, if we multiply minus, then it will give a minus. So from here we can conclude that minus 2 is multiplied 5 times. So we can take minus 2 out. So for fifth root, both positive and negative value got possible root. That means fifth root has. So similarly, if we keep continuing, we will always find that even root. Even root means, here nothing means 2 actually. Square root is actually second root. 2, 4, 6, 8, whatever. If it is a even root, that is for this case, even root is only possible if the number is positive. If the number is negative, then even root is not possible. Like second root, fourth root, sixth root, eighth root is not possible. But if the number is positive, then it's possible. But for odd root, if the number is positive or negative, odd root is possible. So the sign, the negative sign, how different orders of root affects, the conclusion is root over of any number, if the root is even root, that root is only possible if this number is or variable is positive. And for odd root, any other odd root like third root, that is cubic root, fifth root, seventh root, this root is possible in both cases, that is whether this number is positive or negative, odd roots are possible.